If you're thinking about renting a motorbike in Bali, you want to watch this video. My name is Adrian Field and I'm a digital nomad entrepreneur currently living in Canggu. I'm going to break down for you the process, the price, and everything you need to know about renting a scooter before you even get to Bali. So a motorbike is really the best way to get around Bali. Taxis are quite unreliable here. You have to negotiate the prices and they will definitely try to rip you off. In several areas like Ubud and Canggu, there are kind of these ride-hailing apps like Grab and GoJek, but then they operate in this sort of shady area of legality. And there's signs everywhere that say no Grab, no GoJek. So in order to really be able to explore where you want and when you want, a motorbike is the best way to go. Literally anyone will rent you a motorbike in Bali without even bothering to look at your driver's license or even ask you if you've ever driven a motorbike before. But if you should get stopped by the police and you don't have an international driver's permit, then you need to be prepared to pay a fine. And by fine, I really mean bribe, because it's always on a sliding scale. Now, an IDP is something that you get in your home country. In America, you go to a AAA, you pay 20 bucks, and they give you this paper document. Now, in order to actually legally drive a scooter or motorbike, you need to have the motorbike endorsement on your actual driver's license, and then that gets stamped here as well in the IDP, which is just a format that is recognized in most countries around the world. This has helped me in Thailand and now in Bali as well. If you don't have one, the chances of you getting stopped in Bali are pretty slim. In over 2 months that I've been here, I've only been stopped one time at a checkpoint, and of course when I showed them the IDP, then they just waved me through. But when I lived in Thailand, I got stopped multiple times per week because they were just really aggressive with checkpoints. So if you're only coming to Bali for, let's say, a week or 2 weeks, don't even bother. But if you're planning on traveling around Southeast Asia and having a scooter in several countries, then it might be worth the extra hassle and step to go and do your motorcycle safety training and then have that endorsed on your license and then do it at the AAA, because you'll have it for life. I mean, the IDP is only valid for 1 year and then it needs to be renewed, but from my understanding is once you have that motorcycle endorsement on your actual driver's license, you're good forever basically, just like with a car. There are a million places that you can rent a motorbike in Bali. Literally there's several on each block and they tend to have the same pricing in each neighborhood. But the thing is, during high season when there is a ton of demand, sometimes you can just be left with the really old janky motorbikes. When I came down to Canggu last week, this was my case, where I went to at least 4 or 5 different places and the only bikes that were left were these like really crappy ones, and I ended up settling on one where the price was okay. It was 750,000 per month, but the bike within like 5 days kind of broke down. And then I needed to go and switch to somewhere else. The pricing in Ubud is definitely better than Canggu. So in Ubud, for a new Honda 125 or 135cc, you can expect to pay around 750,000 rupiah per month, whereas that same bike in Canggu will cost at least $1 million and sometimes even more. So there's definitely a sliding scale. Sometimes there's a little bit of a margin for negotiation, but other times not really, and they just know that during high season, you basically have no choice. And what I was also told today as I went and I got a different motorbike is that within Canggu, all of the motorbike rental places have agreed upon themselves on what their pricing is. So it's kind of become like a union monopoly where they've just decided, okay, we're not going to go below a certain price. Okay, so let's talk about road and traffic conditions. Driving around in Bali is not for beginners. I'm actually shocked now when I think back on it that I learned how to ride a scooter here 3 years ago from some old Balinese man, but I don't know if it's gotten worse over the 3 years or I just wasn't even aware of what it was really like 3 years ago. But the roads are not great here. There are potholes, the roads are very narrow, and basically people don't follow traffic laws. So people are supposed to be driving on the left side of the road, but they will literally be coming at you from every single angle. And when there's a lot of traffic, people drive up on the sidewalks. It's just sort of anything goes here, and you really need to be practicing defensive driving. almost every day in Canggu, I see somebody falling off a motorbike. I just saw it yesterday in an intersection. I saw it the day before that of some girl was just driving down the street and then all of a sudden she fell over. I don't know how that happened, but the roads here are not good. And especially when it rains as well, that just adds a whole other level of difficulty. So if you're a beginner, I really would recommend taking it easy and taking it slow and getting your bearings here. It's just not the easiest place. I think that Chiang Mai, for example, is an easier place than Bali because in Chiang Mai, people tend to actually follow the road rules. The other thing that I want to mention here is that the taxi drivers in Bali are the biggest assholes. They will literally run you right off the road, and if you're going too slow for them, they'll be honking at you. They try to like overtake you really aggressively. I don't understand what is with these taxi drivers. Bali is supposed to be a chill place where people are, you know, spiritual and zen, but the taxi drivers are on some other shit. Seriously, they are the worst here, and worse than anywhere else that I've experienced in Southeast Asia. On the issue of safety, so everybody is supposed to wear a helmet here, but I think about 50% of people that you see are not wearing a helmet, and the police aren't necessarily going to stop you for that, but if there's some checkpoint and they stop you and you're not wearing a helmet, then be prepared to pay a bribe. With how dangerous the streets are, you're probably better off wearing the helmet. But a lot of times these rental places, when they rent you a motorbike, the helmets are really gross and smelly and old, so you might even just like want to wear a hat underneath the helmet. Let's talk about getting around and directions. So I use Google Maps for everywhere that I go here in Bali because I don't know the way. And I would say Google Maps is reliable about 90% of the time, but because the streets are really weird in Bali and you have all of these tiny little alleyways, I find it can be really challenging when you're not looking at the phone, which obviously I'm not because that would be crazy dangerous. At least I'm not looking at it like 80% of the time. So I have my headphones in and the GPS is giving me directions, but it might say something like, stay straight on the road, and you're literally at a fork and you don't know which way they mean as straight. And there's just things like that in Bali because the roads are not very delineated or demarcated very clearly, and it's just sort of like built up in this kind of random sprawling way. So you sort of just have to go with it and expect you're going to take some wrong turns, and luckily it's not that hard to U-turn here, at least like on these little smaller roads. On the highway it can be a different situation, but most likely you won't even ever be on the highway because you'll probably just be staying within your area, whether that's Ubud or Canggu or Seminyak or whatever. So really the moral of this video is, first of all, when you're renting, don't go with the first place that is trying to rip you off, especially in Canggu. In Ubud I had a really easy experience. The very first place I went to, they rented me a really nice bike. It was new, it worked perfectly, the price was right. And then here in Canggu, I just had to go from place to place trying to find a good bike. As I said, I found one for the right price, but it was a piece of crap and it was broken. And then I had a big fight with the owner of that shop. Do not go to family rentals in Canggu. They are the worst. I don't know why, like I always check Google ratings before I go almost anywhere, and I didn't even bother to look at their Google ratings because I was just literally going from place to place trying to find a motorbike in desperation. And then I looked afterwards and they have a 2.1 rating, so they're pretty terrible. But just, you know, try to find one that's good and that's gonna give you a good price. In Canggu, I can tell you the baseline pricing for a Honda 125/135 is around 60,000 rupiah per day or 1 million a month. You might be able to find for 750,000. If you can find that in Canggu, that would be a really good price. That's what I paid in Ubud for the same type of bike, but here in Canggu it's just more expensive. A Honda Scoopy, they'll tend to rent you for 700,000 rupiah per month. And then any kind of bigger bike like the NMAX is going to be around 1.5 to 1.8 million here in Canggu. And then I don't even know the prices for the actual motorbikes versus the scooters. I hope this video was helpful. Be safe and be careful out there on those roads. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more digital nomad content throughout the world. I'm Adrian Fields, and I'll see you on the next video.